In 1999, the children's network Nickelodeon was changed forever with the premiere of a new cartoon series named SpongeBob SquarePants. Nickelodeon had developed many popular TV shows in its 20-year existence, but it had never had a hit like SpongeBob. The show debuted to high ratings, with an audience comparable to Nickelodeon's biggest series at the time, Rugrats. But SpongeBob found massive success in an area that other Nickelodeon shows hadn't: merchandising. The company had purposefully shied away from extending the brand too far from the network itself. While Nickelodeon had turned some of its properties into toys, feature films, and video games, they feared that too much merchandising would contradict the brand's goal of appealing to young audiences. Nickelodeon was supposed to appear as a network run by kids, for kids, and the executives believed that children could tell when they were being advertised to, thus interfering with the channel's primary objective. On top of this, a general distaste for the Walt Disney Company and its practices had solidified Nickelodeon's motivation to limit size and avoid feeling corporate. All of this was thrown out the window after SpongeBob premiered. The potential profit from merchandising the show's characters and setting was too large to ignore, and the title character would turn into Nickelodeon's unofficial mascot, its own Mickey Mouse, within just a few years. It appeared as though Nickelodeon was cashing in, but they were still concerned with expanding outside of their comfort zone and tarnishing their brand. In lieu of building its own stores like Disney, a type of project that was deemed too risky, Nickelodeon instead licensed its properties to anyone that wanted them. If you could slap a SpongeBob sticker on it, then Nickelodeon would sign a document that legally allowed you to slap a SpongeBob sticker on it. And since they were already beginning to look like their main competitor, why not act like them too? And what's more Disney than rushing into a huge, difficult project fueled by temporary success? Welcome to the NickHotel. Going up? On October 9, 2003, Nickelodeon announced that they had formed a partnership with the hotel chain Holiday Inn for the purpose of transforming its Orlando resort, the Holiday Inn Family Suites Resort, into the first ever Nickelodeon hotel. The property was less than 5 years old, having just opened in the summer of 1999. The resort was Holiday Inn's first all-suite hotel, featuring 800 suites, 2 pools, water playgrounds, a restaurant, and a food court. The hotel was located just east of the Walt Disney World Resort, and transportation was provided to all 4 Disney parks. Nickelodeon had originally considered constructing a new resort themselves, but decided against this due to their constant fear of failure. Orlando was of course the perfect location for the resort's pilot test. It had a huge tourist population of families and young children, and the company had 2 attractions at Universal Studios Florida, Nickelodeon Studios and the newly opened Jimmy Neutron's Nicktoon Blast. The Holiday Inn was located closer to Walt Disney World than it was to Universal Studios, but Nickelodeon would take what they could get. During the announcement, Nickelodeon revealed that they had plans to build 4 more resorts throughout the country. The transformation of the Holiday Inn Family Suites Resort was to be completed in early 2005, and the renovation would cost an estimated $20 million. Nickelodeon began advertising the resort leading up to its release, and parents began to book their stays at the new hotel.
Did you hear? Nickelodeon has built a hotel just for you. Opening this Memorial Day, the brand new Nickelodeon Family Suites by Holiday Inn in Orlando, Florida. You get your own bedroom. Sweet! 2 humongous pools with slides and flumes, a giant arcade, character breakfast, and live Nick entertainment. Parents can book reservations by logging on to www.nickhotel.com or call 1-866-GO-TO-NICK.
On March 9, 2005, the Nickelodeon Family Suites Holiday Inn, commonly referred to as the NickHotel, opened its doors. Guests would walk up to the bright orange resort, with characters peeking through the window of the main entrance. This led to the lobby and check-in desk. There were 4 room layouts that guests could choose from. The first was a 1-bedroom suite designed for 1 to 2 people. This included a king-sized bed, full kitchen, and a dishwasher. The second was a 2-bedroom kid suite. This included a private parents' room, a living area, a bathroom, and a themed kids' room. The kids' room would either feature a bunk bed or 2 twin beds, and the rooms were themed to different Nickelodeon properties, such as SpongeBob, The Fairly Odd Parents, Jimmy Neutron, Dora the Explorer, Rugrats, Danny Phantom, and more. Guests could request a specific character room and would be assigned to it if available. The kids' rooms also featured a television, and some came with a PlayStation 2. Guests could rent games from the hotel for $5 or bring their own. There was also a CD player and an activity table in most of the suites. Unlike the parents' room, there was no door separating the kids' room from the living area. This was due to a county law restricting doors on kids' suites for safety reasons. The parents' room was unthemed and featured 2 side tables, a closet, a 25-inch TV, and a makeup desk. The main living area featured a pull-out couch, a rocking chair, a dining table, and a 25-inch TV. The third suite layout was a 3-bedroom kid suite. This came with 2 private parent rooms, both with king-sized beds, a themed kids' room with a bunk bed and pull-out cot, a full kitchen, a full dining room, and 2 bathrooms. All suites had the option of a wake-up call from a Nickelodeon character, and simple room service was available. The suites opened from the outside, resulting in the kids' suites having no windows. 14 6-story buildings housed the suites. The main structure comprised of 9 buildings, enclosing the lagoon pool, and the other 5 buildings enclosed the Oasis pool. The main area also featured the lobby, the fitness center, and Studio B, which was a space for special events such as conferences, birthday parties, and starting in 2009 for unexplicable reasons, weddings. The lagoon pool featured a basketball court, mini golf, a pool and a kiddie area, the Lagoon Bar and Grill poolside restaurant, and a large water park, the main attraction for children staying at the resort. The water park featured large cutouts of Nickelodeon characters, multiple water slides, water features, and a large water bucket at the top of the structure. This would periodically fill up, tip over, and douse guests with water. And at certain times of the day, the water would be colored green to simulate slime. This was treated as a special event, with hotel employees gathering everyone and getting them excited for the mass sliming. The Oasis pool area featured another poolside bar, a kiddie area, a spa, and a less elaborate water park. This was supposed to be the more relaxing area than the often crowded lagoon pool. In between the 2 hotel structures would be a building referred to as the mall. The mall featured an arcade, a kids spa, and a gift shop, which sold both Nickelodeon and Universal Studios merchandise. There was a 4D theater, which had a 3D screen, moving seats, bubbles, and water effects. This would show a SpongeBob 4D film, as well as 15-minute highlight reels from recent movies, such as the Ice Age franchise, and later, Pacific Rim. There was also a theater named Studio Nick for game shows and live character shows. When the hotel opened, Studio Nick had 2 game shows, Who Knows Best and Nick Live. Who Knows Best was a game show that tested how well families knew each other, while Nick Live was a show in which families would compete against other families in physical challenges and trivia, with the winner getting slimed. A smaller scale version of this show called Nick Live Poolside would be performed by the Lagoon Pool, with a small dunk tank dedicated to the show. The NickHotel also had a wide array of dining options. The mall had its own food court, with restaurants rotating in and out from time to time. Restaurants included A&W, Pizza Hut Express, Antonio's Pizzeria, and Starbucks. There was a buffet open for breakfast and lunch, an adult bar named the Nick at Night Lounge, and the hotel's signature restaurant, the Nicktoons Cafe. This reservation-only character dining restaurant served a breakfast and dinner buffet. The main appeal of the Nicktoons Cafe was of course the character meet and greets. Behind the mall, there was a man-made lake. While it was not accessible to guests, various statues of Nickelodeon characters were placed on it. The hotel also had Christmas festivities named the Let It Snow Celebration. The resort was decorated in bright Christmas lights, and it offered hot chocolate and s'mores around fire pits. Many of the walk-around characters were dressed in seasonal costumes, and there was a special Studio Nick character show called Celebrate Nickmas. So, how much did it cost? The renovation to create the resort ended up costing around $25 million, and a total of 777 suites were available to book. Prices fluctuated throughout the year. A 2-bedroom kid suite cost between $135 and $275 a night, while a 3-bedroom kid suite cost between $300 and $600 a night. The buffet was around $10 for adults, $8 for kids, and free for anyone under 12. The Nicktoons Cafe character dining cost $17 for an adult and $10 for kids. An all-access wristband in later years would allow guests access to the 4D experience and other activities in the mall area. This cost around $20. So if you did the math, a family of 4 spending 2 nights and a full day at the hotel would cost over $750 during peak season. While this was expensive, the NickHotel operated as a resort, with enough activities and attractions to keep guests on property during their stay. This was different than Disney, as more often than not, Walt Disney World Resort hotel guests will be purchasing tickets to one or more of the property's theme parks. On April 30th, 2005, just over a month after the NickHotel opened its doors, Nickelodeon Studios at Universal Studios Florida closed. A time capsule had been buried outside of the studio in 1992. Kids voted on what they wanted to be placed in the capsule, and items such as a Back to the Future VHS, an MC Hammer CD, and a Nintendo Game Boy were buried. The capsule was to remain for 50 years, to be opened in 2042. After Nickelodeon Studios closed, the time capsule was moved to the NickHotel where it was reburied and displayed for guests. The Nickelodeon Hotel continued to operate normally for over a decade, adding new entertainment options and shows periodically. In May of 2012, Double Dare Live, a new game show at Studio Nick based off of the hit TV show, debuted. In 2014, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Summer of the Shell began. Some rooms were rethemed to the heroes, and a laser maze based off of the TV show was added to the mall. In 2015, the NickHotel celebrated its 10th anniversary. Crazy. So this is the fastest any video has blown up, which means a lot of people are passionate about it. And I think I have the person that is most passionate on with me today, which is Kate. Kate, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Kate, you worked at the NickHotel.
Yes. So I worked for the last year that it was in business before it changed to the Holiday Inn Suites.
And what was your position at the NickHotel?
So when I started, I was a front desk agent, and then I moved to supervisor. And then right near the end, we were a little low on management. So I ended up being like the night manager for a while as well.
Oh, wow. Well, you climbed that ladder very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
So you joined the Nickelodeon Family Suites. What year was that?
May of 2015. I left right around May of 2016.
Wow. So that was the end.
That was the end. That was the Titanic, that last hour of the movie kind of deal.
You didn't get the fun beginning, I guess, if there was one.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, the commercials and everything that I saw on TV growing up, like, I thought it was going to be the coolest place ever. Like, my parents would never bring me because we were like a small family. So suites weren't really what we needed. We could just go to Disney World for that. But I always wanted to go, and like, you always drive by it and it's like a neon orange building and it always catches your eye. And I was like, this is going to be amazing. And then like a week in, I'm like, wait a minute, this maybe isn't as great as I thought or as great as the commercials always said. And I was told when I got hired that it was not going to be Nickelodeon by the next year. Like, I was told ahead of time. They're like, by the way, this is our 10-year celebration, but then after this, we may not be Nickelodeon anymore. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I kind of knew going in that it was going to be a little bit different, but I wasn't ready for how intense the whole thing was for the year. Yeah. So basically what was happening is part of our 10-year celebration, they were like, we're going to start talking about this renovation that's happening, because all of our TripAdvisor reviews were talking about the rooms, the housekeeping, and how worn down everything was. So everyone was like, oh, we're going to talk about this renovation and get people excited to come back in the spring. Because even though we were not going to be Nickelodeon anymore, we were going to be the same company. So the same company was going to own the hotel. Just instead of having the Nickelodeon property rights, we were going to become a Holiday Inn again, meaning that we were going to get Holiday Inn rights, but we were still privately owned. So we were just trying to get people excited about it. And people noticed, oh, like, it looks like there's flamingos on the wall. Like, where are the Nickelodeon characters? And at the time, we weren't allowed to say that we weren't going to be Nickelodeon because we really didn't have an end date technically for the contract. At least it wasn't told to us. So we had to kind of be like, oh, we don't know what it's going to be yet. But kind of all of us behind the desk were kind of starting to soon realize that, oh man, like, this is definitely not going to be Nickelodeon. They're changing everything up and we can't tell our customers right now. And it's like, uh-oh, like, it was like a ticking clock. And then by the end, we ended up starting to renovate the rooms a little bit later than we were supposed to. We started pretty much hard duty doing it in the spring. So even though it was supposed to start in November, it started very, very slow. Just demo rooms, seeing how everything worked. And then by the spring, we were going pretty quick, trying to flip rooms, and we were totally under construction. So folks that were coming to stay with us, they got the emails, we're going to be under construction while you're here. You're welcome to move or stay with us for a cheaper rate. So by the spring, we were going pretty quick, and people were very surprised.
Yeah. And that's also what I noticed was not only are the rooms different, but what I noticed was at the Nickelodeon Family Suites, those were not murals. They were just stickers, because I found a picture of one peeled up.
Yes. So we had extra stickers in back. So basically it was like a wallpaper sticker, like people do in apartments, where you just rub it down, get the little bubbles out, and then keep it. And then if it rips up, you just get a new one. And that's what we did for when the Turtles got really hot. So when the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were the hot new thing, we pulled down some of like the Danny Phantoms and we popped up Turtles, which was really popular.
So let's just stick on the rooms for now, as far as organization. So the themed kids suites, those, murals on the wall, not murals, those stickers. Those stickers, what was the what do you remember some of them? Do you remember like all of them? Like
Yes. So by the time that I had gotten there, we basically had a code in our system for each one so that we'd know going in like what room the customer was getting. A lot of SpongeBob. So mostly SpongeBob, Dora, Fairly Odd Parents, and then Ninja Turtles. Those were the 4. But Ninja Turtles we were very short on. We didn't have a ton. We just had gotten a couple. But we had one Danny Phantom room left. And then those were the only ones that were left when I got there. I've heard that we used to have more, but by the time I got there, we had kind of narrowed it down because a lot of the shows had been canceled. Oh, we also had Rugrats and Rugrats All Grown Up. So we had a Rugrats All Grown Up room.
Yeah, I found an all grown up room. I didn't put it in the video because I couldn't find a picture of it. I only found it like sweeping by on a video. But there was an all grown up. There was a Jimmy Neutron. There was, what else was there? That Rugrats room is, I mean, all of the rooms are creepy in my opinion. And not creepy in me being like, ooh, these are sinister. It's just the idea of it looks like a prison. Like it's like, it looks like solitary confinement with Danny Phantom.
It just, you walk in the room and like just walking in the hotel room because the kids' rooms didn't have doors. You just look to the left and you just see Jimmy staring at you like, hey there, Goddard. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. Have anything else on the room besides, the big stories, but do you have anything else interesting on the rooms themselves?
Let's see. So the old rooms, the kids' bedroom was separate. Also, if we're not even talking about housekeeping yet, on the new renovated rooms, let's just say the bathtubs didn't work. So when we had people come in and be like, you're going to try a renovated room, but please don't take a bath because like it would flood the lower floor. Like there was something wrong with like the pipes or something that they laid down that like if you did a bath, it would just flood the room underneath you.
My gosh.
So I'm hoping they got it fixed. I bet by now they have. Like, I'm not trying to like diss this hotel, but like they probably have fixed it by now. But like, it was pretty intense for a while because like, here's a new room, like, but don't use the shower. Thanks.
So just don't clean yourself in our dirty hotel.
Exactly.
So yeah, let's go. If you don't have anything else on the rooms, I guess we can go on to housekeeping.
Ooh, okay. So every night at the Nickelodeon Suites Resort, we'd have a line right around like 8 p.m. when people are getting back from the parks. We'd have a line probably like 8 or 9 different guests deep of folks waiting to complain about their rooms. Like it was really intense by the end. We ended up with like a 3.5 star on TripAdvisor because everything was just old. So imagine a room that has been the same for 10 years and it's connected to a water park, which means that water is in the carpet. It's underneath the carpet and you just get that like mildewy hotel smell, but like really emphasized. Mm-hmm. Have you ever been to Circus in Las Vegas? It very much is very similar to that resort. It's very just like everything just has like that moldy smell, but it's like you can't fix it. And then it was just everything was old, like springs coming out of mattresses, and it was just really and like not cleaning the couches and like housekeepers, they tried their hardest. Like we were all a team and we tried very, very hard, but it's like, if you don't have the supplies that you need, if you don't have new things, like new mattresses to put in when the old one's ripped and broken, it's like, you only have so much that you can do. But we had a lot of folks come in like wanting to leave or like wanting to get like a new room. And it's like these, like trying to be as nice as possible. I'm like, you can look at the other room, but they're all the same. And, it's just like at one point it's
standard. Like
like this is all we have. And like people would get like, it's like, I know one of the pictures you showed on your video was like a dirty washcloth, and that is from pressing a washcloth into the rug. And like we clean the rugs and like we'd have professionals come in and do the rugs, but it's just like after a while, it's just like, it was so bad with like the water park and just not the upkeep for so long, not doing it, trying to do it at the end just like didn't work. And like I tried to be really positive, and sometimes they would just like moving to the other room like made them feel better. So like a lot of folks would move, but like it was just so hard, and especially at the end, it was just so rough. And it's like you can only do so much, and it's like you can't like we like weren't allowed to just give everyone their money back, like, and it was so hard to like make someone like stay overnight in a room that they hated because we couldn't give them their money back. So we couldn't take the hold off their cards. So they couldn't go anywhere else. And it was just really sad. And I felt so bad for people.
Yeah, I can't imagine. what gives me the eeriest feeling is that this is, this big corporation behind this. I mean, Nickelodeon is, I mean, it's not Disney huge, but I mean, Viacom's ginormous. But it's just the idea that this hotel that is owned by this giant children's network just kind of left, but it didn't like fully leave it. I mean, you were still receiving new additions. What was that like? I mean, did it feel kind of weird and eerie, like you were being neglected, or was it like they're updating it, it's just not working, or what was that?
I feel like we were just like the ugly stepchild of just the company, because we were too far from Universal for folks to stay here that wanted to go to Universal. So we were really close to Disney, but it's like, why stay with us when you can go to Art of Animation for around the same price and be on Disney property? And it was just really hard because technically, like, Nickelodeon, we only owned the rights to the theme park. We had only contracted out the rights. So like, it's not like Steven Hillenburg came in to make sure SpongeBob was doing his thing. Like, we were totally separate. Like, Nickelodeon gave us no support. I think they wanted to forget that we were alive. And then like we're just kind of in this limbo form, because at this point, like, the executives were ready to like break everything down and like start anew. And like, we're just trying all to work together to like make happy moments for these kids and these families who've like saved up for years to like come to Orlando. And like, we're trying really hard to like make it as great as we could, but it's like, how good can you make it with what we had? And we weren't getting anything new. Like, no one was trying to help us in the moment. They were just thinking, oh, well, in 8 months, we're not going to be Nickelodeon anymore. We're going to be renovated. But it's like, for 8 months, like, we're drowning,
So with that in mind, let's keep going on all the weird stuff you saw. As I think we captured it. So is that it for housekeeping?
Yeah, just not great. We tried really hard. Everyone in housekeeping was really wonderful. We tried. Oh, I guess this counts. This counts as a horror story too. Basically, one weekend we were fully booked and we ran out of towels. So we have people calling saying they have one towel in a room for 6 people. And we had to be like, we can send you washcloths. But we had no towels on property because everything got sent out. And we never got our shipment for the day, meaning we had no towels.
You had no towels.
We had no towels, only the things that were already in the room. So we had no additional. So if we only had one towel in a room made for 6, we had one towel in the room. If we had 6, that's great. That was a lucky room. But we had a lot of rooms that one weekend we didn't have enough stuff for. It was really bad, but it was only once, but still it was an intense weekend.
That is crazy. And then you only worked there for a year. So how many times did that happen?
Oh God, probably like big towels once for one 24-hour period. We never like washcloths and hand towels happened a lot more. Because a lot of those, like when they're all white. So when they get dirty, you toss them or you bring them to the place. And if you don't get them back on time, then you're out. And it's like it was a whole process, but only big towels once in my year there.
If you don't mind, get into some of the more serious or, funny, if you want to order them in a certain way. I'm just going to let you talk. I mean, we've kind of taken a tour through the hotel through your eyes.
Yeah.
And now I really just want to hear some of these stories that you have.
All right.
So if you don't mind sharing them.
I'm going to start with like a shocking one, and then we'll work our way back down.
Okay.
So basically one day this guy comes to the front desk and I'm there. And he's like, hey, someone just broke into my car. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like, are you okay? Like, did you lose anything? He's like, yeah, like I lost a pair of sneakers. And, oh yeah, also my gun was stolen. And I was like, I'm sorry, you're what? And he's like, yeah, like I lost my gun. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, like it was just in my under my seat and like someone took it. So I went like, oh, like, do you want me to call the police to file a report? And he's like, no, you don't need to. And he like ran away. So like, I don't know if he was just telling me for me to like give compensation or to tell me there was now a gun on property or to like, maybe it was like a gun that wasn't registered to him. I wasn't 100% sure. We ended up like calling we had security do a walkthrough. We ended up calling the police just to like look around and make sure everything was fine, but everything was fine. We never saw it. Nothing ever happened. Thank God. Another person, I guess, was so upset. This woman, basically, she had come to the desk a million times, was like super upset with her room, super upset housekeeping didn't come at 9 a.m. exactly, mad she didn't get extra towels, mad the pool was busy, mad there was lightning, like just really just totally just upset. So I guess she thought we parked outside of the lobby, which we don't. We had our own parking. But so she slashed someone's tires that was
What?
outside the lobby because she thought it was one of our cars.
And so you arrested her.
Yeah. So we ended up calling the cops, and it was a whole thing. Also, people like to call the cops on us, like somehow like we should get arrested for whatever. Like, so like I'd be at the front desk and they're like, I'm calling the cops because you guys won't let me leave. And I'm like, you can leave, but you've also already stayed here a night. So like, I can't not charge you for the night that you stayed and used the water park and like went to dinner. Like I can't just like not charge you. So people call the cops. The cops would show up and be like, this is private property. So like we can escort the guest off of property, but like we can't do anything to anyone who works here. So I think
you don't own the hotel now.
Exactly. Like it's not like the cops own the hotel. Like they're just like, well, it's private property, so you can leave now. Thanks. But the cops are always really nice. They were always cool to us. I've had people at the front desk get really upset. I think I mentioned it before. We had like a line of like 8 to 10 guests at night wait just to complain. So like I had like one lady come up and she like we used to have these little plastic signs on the desk. She like threw one at me and would like scream. And the problem was our lobby, as you can see in the pictures, was kind of like a cylinder going up. So noise traveled. So any screaming in the whole place was just like an echo of anger. Which was really intense. So she threw stuff at us. And we also had a mother come in who was really upset because she saw an old picture of kids playing video games in the kids' room and was upset that her child's like Xbox 360 wouldn't plug into the little TV in the kids' room. Like we had set up an engineer and everything to be like, oh, like, can you fix this? And they're like, this TV is too old. And she got so upset and she wanted all her money back. And she's like, all he wanted to do on his vacation was play Xbox for the week. And I was like, oh,
but that doesn't make sense. You could have done that at home.
Yeah. Like, why? What? Like, it was very confusing. I was just like, no, like, sorry. Like, we offer all these amenities. We can't give you your money back. Another person that wanted their money back and tried to get creative was we have a couple entrances that you can like drive into to get onto property. There was one that has a big sign that says exit only, like only for shipping vans. There's a big sign. So all of a sudden I get this call and the guy's like, oh, well, like I'm trying to drive in and it says exit only. And I'm like, oh yeah, sir, they have to drive a little farther and you can come in. And he's like, well, don't I get my money back because I can't get in this way? And I went, no, not at all. Like, no. He's like, but like, also like, I didn't get enough towels. And I'm like, well, I'll send you towels, but like, this shouldn't be a conversation that we're having. It was just, yeah. So we get a lot of silly stuff like that. A lot of kids would call 911 on the hotel phone. So we'd hear the fire truck. We'd get the 911 call on our phones too. And like try to answer, be like, hello, like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? And it was a lot of kids just like calling 911 to be funny. And I'm like, you guys need to stop doing that.
And so when the police showed up, you're like, well, it's a good thing you're here because we were going to call you anyways because these guests.
I know. Well, for other things, like, oh, a guest lost a gun. But like also like for that, like we'd usually just like call, we'd go over to the room and make sure everything was okay. And then we'd tell, the authorities, like, they're fine. Like, we're fine. It was a false alarm. We also had kids pull the fire alarm a lot because we had these fire alarms like around the lagoon pool on the hotel walls. So kids would think it's funny to like go and like pull it and then like run away. So we had a couple of like building evacuations because of it. And the trucks would come and they'd still have to check everything just in case. But like normal, it was just all false alarms. But oh man, the one time it happened in the rain. Oh man, that was a lot. That was just a lot of angry, wet people. It was just a lot. But the craziest story, and this was like my craziest day ever working there, was the day that half the buildings flooded. So basically what happened is that basically, how like sprinkler systems in hotels, they have the signs that do not hang clothes on these, like do not hang anything on this. What they mean by that is that if you do that and you break it, all of the sprinklers attached to said sprinkler will go off in all of the rooms. So someone, I guess, had put a hanger and like hung up bathing suits and it got too heavy and the whole thing broke. And so water started spraying in there. Water started spraying in other rooms. The fire alarm went off. So now we're like, all these people, there's an alarm happening. And so that what happens if an alarm happens by the lagoon pool in that circle, everyone in that circle gets evacuated because all the buildings are basically connected. So they evacuate everyone. So we had a whole side of the resort that was now evacuated. We turned the alarm off. Great. Those people went back in. There are still people whose rooms are flooding. Then the engineers went down to fix it and made it worse, and we lost power. So now this building has no power. They're flooded.
Sorry, that's not supposed to be funny, but that's hilarious.
It's funny after the fact. Like, I can laugh now, but like, so it's flooded. We have no power right now. So like, it was the craziest thing. I saw every single management or supervisor on property. We all had those like wheeling carts for luggage, and everyone had to go room to room, and we had to move every single person to a new room in that whole building. So we did floor by floor, like calling everyone walkie, like, go to this room now, and you're taking them to this room. And we had to do this like really intense moving. And these poor people who weren't in the rooms when it happened, we like went in and like tried to like save their stuff for them that was like getting wet. But like, you imagine like you're in the parks all day, you finally get on the monorail after Wishes, you finally get to your car, you drive back, and your room is flooded. Can you imagine that?
No, I cannot.
That's like a nightmare. But surprisingly, everyone was like pretty okay. Like, they weren't like as viciously angry as I was ready. I think it's because we acted pretty quick, but like everyone at the end was like, so I was in this building, and I'm like, don't worry about it. And we like gave them a discount and like did all this stuff for them because of that craziness. But yeah, someone flooded the building. That was a lot. What else happened? We did the gun one. There was, unfortunately, which was really sad, is we had a lot of people experiencing domestic violence on our property. So we had the cops called a lot, or we had a lot of noise complaints. People were like screaming at each other, and we'd hear it. And then we have to call the cops if it gets too intense for our security guards. And then like, we had one, it was like, it was like they were both hitting each other. So the kids, we had to call DCF, and it was like a whole thing, and it was really awful. And it happened a lot near the end, which was really unfortunate, because it's like, you're supposed to be on vacation and having a good time, and all this horrible stuff happens. And these poor kids thought they were meeting SpongeBob, and now all this horrible stuff's happening. So that was always really a bummer. What else did we do? We also had overcrowded rooms. So basically, like, you'd come to the front desk and we'd ask how many are in your group. And sometimes it'd be like 7. And I'm like, oh, well, like only 6 are allowed in the room. And they're like, what do you mean I have 7 people? I'm like, great, you have a room made for 6. So fire marshal says we can only give you 6 wristbands for the resort. Like, you only have 6 wristbands. Well, sometimes people would be like, oh, I only have 6 people. And then we get a noise complaint at like midnight. We'd go in and there'd be like 20 people in the room.
Oh my.
So people would basically, like, one time we went in, it was like the floor was like lined with sleeping bags. So I guess they were having a sleepover party for a kid's birthday and invited everyone to sleep over, but like didn't have wristbands, didn't pay for them, and just thought it'd be okay to fit like 20 people in a hotel room and not tell anyone. And it was like really intense. Like, there was a lot of them. And then we had to be like, you need to leave. And they're like, well, I have all these kids and I have no car to leave. And I'm like, well, then you could book another couple rooms, or like, you need to figure it out. Like it's not our fault that you put 20 people in a room for 6 and thought it would be okay. Like, we can't legally, if we see it, we can't be like, it's fine. Cause like, what if something happens and that's on us? You know, goodness forbid. Right. But so that we got a lot of that. A lot of people sneaking into the water park because it was a wristband system, but you could say, oh, I lost my wristband. And usually people didn't bother you that much, especially if it was really busy. People really didn't bother you. So you can kind of get away with it, or say, oh, I checked out today. And then like, you could get through without your wristband. A lot of that. We had this is everywhere in Orlando. Fun fact, if you're listening, if you ever get like a notice on your door for pizza, like a pizza place you can call, but there's no website or anything, it's a scam. So we had a lot of that because we weren't fenced in. So people would just casually walk in and like drop the flyers under everyone's door and then like leave. And everyone calls this place, gives their credit card number, and then they never get pizza. So we had a lot of that too, which was kind of intense.
And so all of this is just crazy. And then you mentioned that there were times where you had to be escorted.
Yes. So
off property. Yes.
So I've been escorted a lot to my car and off property by security guards, because definitely during the day, I've been threatened a lot. Later that night.
So yeah, are you not used to being threatened? I mean, this is
yeah, like super casual, like what? But then like later,
oh, yeah, he's just angry. That's what happens when you're angry. You just start, threatening to hurt people with violence.
I know. Don't do that, please. But basically, did that. Anyways, later that night, I guess housekeeping did go in the room. So I guess what had happened is that like someone had asked for an extra pillow and the number of the room got written down wrong. So someone went to the room with a pillow and the dude like called me and like threatened my life and like all this stuff and what he was going to do. And once again, security went up, not a threat. So I'm like, well, I'm getting walked to my car then, so I don't die. Like I had to be walked out to my car a lot of times. So I'm like, I am not walking out to my car in the dark at like 10:30 to midnight whenever my shift was over. Like I'm not walking in my car by myself. So I always made sure to walk with the security guard to my car and then like have them wait for me to like start it and like move before they left. Cause it was just really intense. And like, I am like a girl. I'm like not strong. Like I'm tall, but I'm not like scary or intimidating at all. So it's like, there is no way that I would be able to protect myself against some of these people. So it was always just like by myself. It was just a lot. It was just really, the guests were one of two things. They were either really intense because they were upset and they were like throwing things, they were mad about the rooms or mad about the situation, or they were just really bad guests that everyone experiences, but just a little more heightened at our resort, I guess.
Yeah. And that is unfortunate, but the hotel is done and it's over and you left.
It is. I did.
But that transitionary period in between, you have in between the new Holiday Inn and then the Nickelodeon resort, things were being dismantled, things were being torn up. So what was going on with the guests? Were they like, what? Like, why is the hotel that I've seen for years not here anymore? Why am I paying for this if it's not Nickelodeon anymore, kind of thing?
Correct. Yeah. So we had a lot of that. We had a lot of people. We had told everyone, we had called everyone and emailed everyone being like, hey, like we're going to be under construction. But we never really announced that we weren't going to be Nickelodeon until like very close, like till April, even though we were doing construction since January and making rooms with like flamingos on the wall. So like we didn't really inform everyone at the time at once. Because I think I'm assuming it's because they didn't want a max exodus. They didn't want everyone to leave. A, and B, I think because we didn't know what was going on and we didn't know what characters were coming or what was happening, we didn't want to give false information. So at first when the construction was happening, people were upset, but they kind of got it. The rates had been slashed a lot. So it was a lot cheaper to stay there because you were going to be staying by the Oasis pool in the back of the property because that pool was open when the lagoon was closed. Or we had a lot of buildings around the lagoon closed at different times. So there was just a lot going on. So some people complained about the noise and stuff, but mostly people understood there was construction. It was mainly just questions like what's happening. And for a while, we were just like, we're renovating. It's going to be great. And then eventually when we had the official like tell everyone notice, it was like, okay, guys, like we're not going to be Nickelodeon anymore. Like this is the last day of Nickelodeon. And then you could see it, people ask questions. The building all of a sudden was blue. They're like, Nickelodeon's not blue. Why is it blue? So people figured it out before we announced it. Like if you paid attention, you could really see that we were not going to be Nickelodeon anymore. Near the end, we had to call everyone being like, we're not Nickelodeon. We said we were going to have meet and greets with a character that we did not announce. We were told that we were going to have a character breakfast and like character meet and greets. We just were working on a contract with a company. And then apparently, from what I heard, is we never got the contract with the company, which means that we never actually came to fruition, meaning we promised something that we could not give our customers. And now it is just a regular hotel with a water park. It is a Cocoa Key Water Resort painted blue.
And I find it interesting that both Nickelodeon Studios and the NickHotel were both replaced by Blue. Nick Studios is now Blue Man Group, and then the NickHotel is Blue Holiday Inn.
Oh God, irony, just so much irony. But like the prices have been dropped a lot, and I'm really hoping that with that, they are turning things around. I do wish them well. I really wish everyone who's still there, I wish them all really well. And I hope that they are really striving. And I hope that like the big thing is, and like I say this to pretty much everyone who asks me like why the Nickelodeon Hotel didn't work or why it closed. It's just like, if there was just more love put into it, if when they had that first conversation with Holiday Inn and Nickelodeon and everyone, if they just said, we want to do this because we want to help people, or we want to do this not just for a quick money grab, but for a long-term money, even a long-term money grab. But like, if they thought long-term and if they thought about the guests and making sure that they would come back next year versus getting money out of them once and then never returning, I think it would have gone a lot differently. I think it would have been structured a little differently, more adult activities, and kind of just a little bit different and a little less grabby and a little bit more just like a nice place. Because you'll make more money if people come back year after year than overcharging them one year, having a miserable time, and then never returning. So I really think that if they had some love, like if it was just love, I think it would have gone a whole different way.
Well, that's a perfect way to end this podcast. Kate, I got to say thank you so much for sharing your experiences, even the funny ones and the scary ones, and all of the experiences of your time at the Nick Hotel.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I was glad to share.
And if you want to tell everyone where they can find you, I'll put a link in the description. You have a YouTube channel of your own, you said?
I do. So my YouTube channel is called Kate's Kingdom, where I talk about different stories that I've had working at Disney World, because I was there for 6 years. It's youtube.com/KateWDWCP. Also, I have a Twitter at Kate Cupcakes and a Instagram at the Kate Cupcakes, if you want to follow me there.
Well, everyone, go follow Kate, and everyone listening, thank you for listening. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast, and thank you for visiting Defunctland.